What's up guys, we're back with another episode on the IS300. This week, we're installing the rest of the goodies. So I'm happy to announce that I partnered with Powerhouse Racing. I've actually been running a ton of their parts on the car for years now. Never had any issues. Sam at Powerhouse Racing has always been my guy. And now we're partnering along to do some cool content. So they're gonna be sending me some of their new stuff to be showcasing on the IS. And we're gonna put it to use and be able to talk about what it does and the benefits you get from it and why it's worth it. So let's unbox what they sent me here. And we're gonna be using this all at Grid Life, South Carolina at Kershaw, Carolina Motorsports Park on April 16th, 17th, and 18th to be racing the car in the Time Attack series. So I'll be racing it in the street mod class, which allows swaps. It's gonna be any cars from anywhere from 450 horsepower to 700 horsepower. And it, might be decently competitive. It'll be a good time regardless. I'll be boothed up in the Toyo Tires booth and I'll be showcasing all these brand new parts. So all that said, let's go ahead and get this unpacked so we can start putting it to the test. So the main thing that we're looking at here today is their new brushless fan kit for the IS300. So we're gonna install this. They sent me the harness along with it. I'll show you guys also what we have to do to pin it in and do all that fun stuff. So we'll do a little bit of an install video and then get to the actual usage when we're using it on track. So let's lay this all out and see what it looks like. I've got everything else laid out here. They also sent us some swag, so thanks guys again. Thank you, Sam. We got a couple of thermostats to try out some different temperatures. We got a 160, we got a 170, and we got a 155. So we can kind of try to start to feel out where the car's happiest. It's been cooling right around about 200 and 205 degrees on like cooler days and sometimes closer to 210 in traffic, which is a good bit for one of these cars. The factory 2J runs pretty hot, so that's about standard for where they're supposed to be. So we figured we might step down the threshold for when the T-stat opens up to allow it to sit a little bit cooler, maybe closer to 180, 190 degrees. So that's why we got a couple of thermostats to try that out. We got the adapter to run the Sequoia 180 amp alternator with the 2JZ. That is going to be a big push. Essentially at this point, I'm reaching and brushing the very limit of the factory alternator with this car with the Walbro 525 fuel pump and just everything else that's kind of powered off of it. So it's about time that I step that up. So they give us the ability here with that adapter, make that plug and play. And then we got some coolant overflow lines to install the SPAL brushless fans. So, moment of truth, let's go ahead and get these brushless fans opened up. The wiring is actually super nice. Not that that's surprising, but I've seen some different kits from some other manufacturers that are far inferior to this actually very, very nice kit. So we'll go ahead and put that aside until later. And let's open up the kit fans. I figured if we're gonna do this, why don't we do this right? Let's go get the swag on. And I didn't realize, check out that awesome stuff. 2JZ on the back, that's pretty freaking sweet. All right, let's get unboxing. Wow, the finish on this is absolutely beautiful. This is gonna be sick. Wow, okay, so let me go ahead and let's get you a close-up on this thing. Wow, this is awesome with that beautiful overflow. This is a super slick setup. I'm really liking the look of that. Let me show you. So here is the fan kit. Wow, what a sick looking brushless fan. Look how large that is. Single fan, overflow tank right there. We got a couple of pass-throughs here to keep some air out. Then we have this massive connector that's gonna go to that harness that they came with, and this beautiful shroud that looks like it actually captures all of the air. So this is gonna be a big difference. I also had brushed some points up in the mountains, and you guys might remember when I was driving the car, about 15 minutes straight hard driving, things started to get pretty warm pretty quick. Hit the fail-safe, which is 235 degrees, I believe, when I was up there. And you know what? I'm excited to give it another shot with these things. So this is pulse width modulated controlled. So currently the OEM fans, they are either on or off. What you could do with a pulse width modulated brushless fan allows you to modulate and actually give different percentages of power to the fan. Pulse width modulation means basically if it's at a 50% duty cycle, it means it's on half the time and off half the time. So instead of commanding the fact that they're just on at 100% all the time, they can modulate at different speeds for different cooling conditions and stuff like that. So this just allows you to do a ton more. Point blank, we're going to be a little limited with the setup since I have an AEM V2. We can still pulse width modulate. Lawrence Shipman is my tuner. He'll be tuning it. He says it's not the best and most customizable pulse width modulation with the V2, but it'll work, and I'm happy to try it. Again, I'm at the point with this car where I'm going to make it until that V2 can no longer satisfy what we're trying to do, and then we'll probably move in the Link direction, the same way we've been going with the RX-7. So let's go get going with that install and get this thing prepped and ready for grid life. Hey guys, picking back up at the house, I spent some time trying to understand these fans. These things are probably smarter than I am. Short protection, surge protection, doesn't even need relays, child protection, no. Anyway, but realistically, right now I've got the car up. I've got to do a bunch of stuff in prep for grid life, but first is fans. Want to make sure we are cooled. Coincidentally, my OEM fans just stopped working. So instead of diagnosing it, I've got a new set of fans. I'm done. I'm done dealing with diagnosing it. We're just going to wire it up and call it a day. So there's a few ways to wire these things up. You can wire it onto a switched power, and it can be on 100% of the time, and omit the PW, the pulse width side of things, if you have an ECU that only can do 100% or not. We're going to try the pulse width side of things with the car. Sometimes I have weird issues with my AEM V2 where certain pins are just dead. And I only have one option for my pulse width, and it's pulse width 3, which is A11, I believe, on the pinout. So if that pin's dead, we're just going to wire it to 100% power. But I have a couple of options here. So step 1, drain your radiator. Then we're going to pull it out, install the shroud, and then I'm going to wire it up. It should be pretty simple, so just going to kind of walk you along. If you want to test the fans, you want to go ahead and grab a 12-volt battery, take the red to power, take the yellow to power, the white to ground, and the black to ground. And then you'll get some ramping up motions, but you'll know that the fan spins. So just a quick little thing. I was trying to go ahead and just get some more understanding. Anyway, all right guys, forgive the mess. I don't have much of a great table for this right now because everything is taken up by rotary parts. And anyway, moving on. So I'm going to pull this fan shroud off of the radiator, then we're going to put this one on. Just do that with me real quick. All right, there's our coil sitting there. Our old fans, which still did their thing. They weren't bad. 20 years old, you know. Pretty impressive for what these things do, but not nearly as efficient. So lining it up for the first time, you could tell that over here you're going to need some spacers. Luckily, Powerhouse Racing supplies those. So here's a couple of fittings and everything that we are going to need to set this thing up. So we're going to have a spacer that goes right here. And then we'll be able to actually run a piece of hardware right through there. Probably best to do these first. Line everything up nicely. Well, it looks like if you're running an IS300 Koyo, you're gonna have to cut this little plastic tab off of the actual fan itself. No big deal. I'm gonna grab a Dremel and go ahead and cut that so that this can sit down nice and flat. That way everything will line up actually very nicely. So let me go ahead and Dremel this off and then let's take it from there. Anyway, there it is right here. So I've gone ahead and lined up everything to the best of my ability. So I'm just gonna cut this piece off. Wear safety goggles so you don't get it in your eyes. There we go, nice and out of the way of that guy, and now we are perfectly lined up. So let's go ahead and get this done. Use the supplied bolts and go ahead and plug everything in. All right, so now that that is on there, you got your two spacers here. This is all attached. You can see the shrouding here, nice and flush, keeping everything safe inside the actual shrouding here. So that's pretty legit. This is a very good looking setup. Check it out. So next up is going ahead and setting up the overflow. Grab the tube that they supplied you, and you're gonna go ahead and put there on there, and then put the barb on. All right, so next up, you're gonna grab the barbs that are supplied, put one on the bottom, Put one on the top. You're going to want to put a little piece of Teflon on each of the threads. They are NPT, so just a little single thread will be more than enough. The barbs are a 13 mil, so go ahead and just throw a 13 mil socket over them and just tighten them until they're snug. Bottom one might need a wrench. Top one could just be a ratchet. Okay, so once you are finished outfitting your fan system, it should look something like this. I stole the coolant drain from the original radiator setup, and I went ahead and I plumbed that to the top barb right there, and then I just dropped it all the way down so that it can drain if it needs. And then this is the supplied line from Powerhouse Racing. That is the other overflow setup. Okay, so just to show you how I've got this wired before I go ahead and put the fans in, you put the fusible link in between the two sides of the power distribution block. Power distribution block is held down by two self-tappers. That's Powerhouse Racing supplied. I'm pulling power off of the alternator because I don't have a battery up front. So it's a little long here, but I'm making sure that it's not rubbing against anything. So here it's, completely free. It's got a little weird kink to it, but I do have this that covers it all. It doesn't really matter. So that's going to go ahead and cover all that. When you're finished, and that's how it's going to look. Pulling a ground from right here, and now I've just got my wiring here. I do need to pull my white trigger wire to the wire that's going to be pulsed from the ECU. The yellow is a 12-volt pull-up that you don't necessarily need. In my situation, I don't think I'm going to need it or use it, so I'm going to try the white first and then take it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and put the white wire to my trigger wire to my ECU, which is a ground side pulse width, which is a low side driver. All that said, I'm going to go ahead and get this fans in, and then we'll start testing. Well, they are in, and boy, check out all that room we have. So with the factory IS300 style radiator, it's not super thick. And one of my biggest problems was actually getting to fit this side piping with the AC and everything against the radiator. And you can see here, there is nothing but space now. Look at all that space. If you're ever in need and you want to keep the factory ECU box and you're ever in need of the extra space and don't have the absolute master welder that I did, this is definitely another plus to this fan system. Tons of space. Wow. Looks beautiful, super gorgeous, clean. Okay guys, I finally figured it out. It wasn't too hard, just I'm a little bit hard-headed. So let me just go over a couple of things that you need to know, and let me show you what it's looking like. So essentially, well, let's take a look first. Essentially how I finally got them running, and I'll include the screenshot right here. This is the tuning table that I have for the fans. Essentially, that with this they come on around 160. Take a look at the invert over in the corner there. So it has to be inverted in order for it to work, because basically 10% is 100%. So in order for it to work like that, with the graph like that, that's how it'll work. But the biggest thing is the frequency. You can see there it's at 14 ms. It used to be 25, and that's why I couldn't figure it out. So once I put in 14, everything worked like it should. There's no relays. The wiring is super simple. Essentially, you just throw on the setup here, put the fusible link on the in between. I have it wired to my alternator there, and then the power coming there. And then all I needed to use was the trigger wire, which is the white wire, which is wired to the ECU to a ground side PW signal. And that's how you program it. Super simple, straightforward, to the point. One of the things that I did miss was that the coolant overflow tank, I didn't fill it, and I caused it to give me a little extra heat on the way, caused a bubble, basically pulled in some air. So make sure you fill that reservoir when you do it. Again, super simple. Now that I've got it bled and perfect, I was just in traffic. It's 94 degrees out, just in traffic, full-blown AC, dead stop, one to another, chilling at like 203, 204. So this setup is perfect. We're gonna go take it to the track at CMP for grid life. In the meantime, I've got the car here ready to go. So again, this setup is super good looking. I think it's going to be a game changer. Nothing to go wrong in terms of like extra relays and all that. So for once, I think it's just going to be a no-brainer setup. And I can't wait to keep documenting it. So just follow along. Next week, this Friday, we're going to be racing it, and I'll be able to document how it did. It's got an OEM T-stat in it, so should just chill around here. Next, we'll start messing with T-stat, different T-stats, but other than that, we're pretty much good to go. So this is the setup, man. I couldn't think about putting anything else on it. So go ahead and get it, guys. If you have any questions, leave them below. Oh, and one other thing, don't over tighten the overflow, the coolant overflow barbs. If you could see here. Oh, fuck! I wasn't too happy, and I may do, but just don't over tighten them. Other than that, you guys are good to go. Simple, straightforward. Follow this this little help along, and you'll be fine. See ya.